Hey guys, this is Simon from Fateless. Today we're going to be talking all things alpha test or beta test, the tower, or the depths of hell, whatever we're going to do. And I've seen tons of speculation. Today I'm going to try and answer as many questions as I can. I know we had the podcast with Tim, or Ash, as most of you know him, where we kind of like talked about this top line idea of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. Today I'm going to give you a bit more detail around proposed dates that we're aiming for, around what the experience should feel like, so that everyone is a bit more in the know. I'm actually on the build through Unity right now, which means it's our unstable build, but I figured I'd show you some cool stuff as well, just whilst we're kind of like talking through what is going on. So ultimately what's going to happen for...
Alright, so we're going to pause here and start providing commentary, because if you want to watch the full video yourself, I'll drop the link below in the comments and you can check that out. So what we see here, Simon is inside of the main game screen. We've seen this before, of course. We now can see over his left shoulder that it is called the Well of the Divine, and that's definitely an interesting component. We believe that your OG here believes that that's where you might go to pull 6-star ascensions from that well, possibly using this new blue gem currency that we'll see later in this. So stick around so that you can get a feel for what these resources are. I'll have some future videos really breaking out the resources and resource management, currency conversions. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we won't go too deep today on it. We're really just going to give reaction to what Simon is talking about, break it down for you, give you that detailed analysis, and keep you up to date. So basically what we've learned about that divine Well of the Divine is, this is where you're going to ascend the champions. This gives you 100 initial divinity for 6 stars, and that is starting you on your way to be able to use your ultimate. Your ultimate costs, we now know are potentially in the hundreds or even sometimes thousands of divinity, with some of the gear or the kits that we'll see here. You're going to see that to activate their ultimate is 2,000 divinity, or whatever. And so what we're really going to want to focus on there is on the gain rate for divinity. How does that character gain divinity? What is the rate in which they gain it? So that's going to be a very interesting metric we'll look at in the future as well, so stay tuned for that. There is so Simon goes on to talk. There is this is all about the alpha. Now we're not calling it beta testing anymore. This is alpha testing. We're going to shift our language. He talks about the very first rounds of alpha and what that's going to look like. The very first round of alpha testing, outside of the play testing that the internal Fateless team is doing right now, will be a friends and family round. So people very close to the team and the team themselves will compete inside of the game to see how they do in the tower. I think this could be really cool. Maybe if we start a poll on who we think is going to win on the internal friends and family round of the alpha testing. I don't know if Fateless will share with us even just a basic leaderboard of who is involved in that and who is in what position. I think that could be fun, just to kind of follow along and see, because ultimately this is insider knowledge against insider knowledge. I mean, these are the people that built the game. Like, you should know exactly how to beat it, but yet you all know that. So then what is the differentiation? Who wins? Who's better? How do you go faster than the others? I think it could be a really interesting and dynamic piece, even though I know it's probably a little bit of a closed alpha. But we'll put that out there for speculation. Simon mentions that the alpha testing waves will be about a 10 to 11 day duration. There will be 2 groupings. One will be in early July, and then one will be in later July. So there'll be an Alpha Group A, an Alpha Group B. Then in either August or even early September, there will be a alpha, so a retest alpha, where people from the first 2 alpha waves will be able to be invited back. Plus, there will be some that second wave of signups that you can go to fateless.gg and sign up right now. That is when you will be able to get in there. from what we know right now. So go now, sign up for that alpha and get in that wave so that you can be in this testing, because ultimately after September, you're into the final 3 to 4 months before global launch. And so there may not be more testing. I mean, there could be, but this may be it, and then they may turn their focus entirely towards the global launch, and I'd hate for you to miss out on the opportunity to be involved and get to see some of these really interesting, cool, some things, as we've heard leaked, have never been in any game before, some of the ways in which things will be done, so that's going to be exciting. We'll keep you up to date on that. But ultimately, 10 to 11 day duration, so about a week and a half you're going to be in the game trying to climb the tower. So that's a pretty intense short period of time. You're going to be going all out for that period, I'm sure. And then it'll be really cool that you get to come back for a retest. And I'm going to touch this deep, this concept of second chances later in the video. So stick around. That's actually a really juicy concept. Don't go anywhere. You're going to want to hear about that. All right. So, and that second chances, it ties to like fusions and events, and everything like that. So, Simon talks about how the two groups of alphas, when they're in the tower and competing to race to the top of, or the bottom of the tower that still has not been determined, there will be a leaderboard that will be featured on hellhades.com and Fateless GG's website, and you'll be able to see who in those alpha waves is topping the leaderboards and things like that. I will be doing a deep dive on this, on optimizing the leaderboard for engagement, so that will be something I'll be putting out in a future video. He talks about awakenings and there's blue gems. We have a lot of different things being added in. In fact, under the special events on the far right there, you can see a chest full of blue gems. That's sort of a similar color scheme to what we're seeing around the awakening. So we're gonna have to iron all these details out, but we're sharing it as we're getting it and trying to break it down for you. All right, let's push.
Well, this kind of like alpha wave.
We'll push forward a little bit. Simon is talking quite a bit about the testing, and I'm just sort of helping you by keeping from getting too in the weeds. We'll just skim over the top for you, give you what you need so that you can get the core of what's being talked about here, and not have to watch the whole thing. All right, so here we are at Dracula. We are learning quite a bit from this screen alone. First, we're going to start by clarifying our language. Okay, so some of the games previously, you had leveling and ranking. So I talked about, okay, look, we have a level 10 champion, and it looks like you have to rank them up to be able to keep leveling them up. Well, I changed the words. Rank is replaced with promote. So when you hit level 10, you need to be promoted. Then you can continue to level up to level 20. Then you need to be promoted. Level 30 promoted. Level 40 promoted. Level 50 promoted, then you get to 60. So we see that here on the promote screen. You also see to get a 1-star promotion, or to promote yourself the first time at level 10, you need either one chicken or food champion of a certain level to feed into it to level it up, or to promote it. Sorry. So that is something we're just seeing for the first time here, and it looks like we have a much better understanding of that. So we will also talk, as you can see, the blue gem beneath that with a 0 next to it. That looks like a currency or a commodity that we're going to be interested in, probably a high value one. It seems possibly to be something that you get and use to awaken through those 1 through 6 stars, and that is how you get that 100 divinity to start and chain your or build your ultimates quicker. So that appears to be a case. We'll be putting out a much deeper dive on resources, resource management. But one thing I want to talk about in that space is the skills that kind of relate. So forex trading, or foreign exchange trading, is about looking for differences in value across different currencies and commodities around the world, and exchanging those commodities and currencies in such a way that maximizes their profit. So this leads to higher overall currency levels for you and your account if you practice similar strategies. I'll give you a great example. I remember watching a video for Raid Shadow Legends, and the content creator was Boozer, and he is a 100% free-to-play player, but he's also an end-game arena player, very high level, and he showed a video where he had 1 billion silver on his free-to-play account, and how he did that in terms of just being efficient, maximizing every day, and optimizing every day. So it can be done, and if you think along these lines, you can really give yourself massive advantages over time. But you got to understand the trade-offs. What are you exchanging when you take one resource or currency and get another? That's the key piece to this. In Discord, I saw one of the folks mentioned having a single in-game currency. So all you can ever do with real money is buy this one single currency, and then that converts to all the other currencies in the game that you might need at different points during your account's progression. What do you guys think about this? I thought it was a really interesting point, and I wanted to bring it out on the next video. Do you prefer that, or do you prefer to be able to go into a shop and buy whatever resource or whatever currency directly that you want to buy, without that intermediary step of having to go convert it to another resource, or does it not matter? Is it just right? Goldilocks? Let me know in the comments below. Cool. So Simon continues discussing the alpha testing phase. We're going to cut the chit chat and we're going to get to what's important. When can we play this game? So he talks about July, he talks about September, and all of that. He talks about that the dates are subject to change. I'll talk about that more after. But I think it's really important for all of us going into this experience to set the right expectations for it. You are not going to be playing the actual game that will be available at launch, and that's just the way it is. I know some people aren't happy about that, or they wanted a version of the game or whatever, but it's just that's not what's happening. So but the surprise is you do get to play, and it sounds really well thought out, this standalone tower style progression challenge. And obviously we're going to first see the Fateless folks go into it and play it, and then there's going to be 2 alpha tester groups, and then you're going to have this alpha retest group. I'm going to call that Return of the Alpha in my nerdy Star Wars way. And that is going to involve returning alpha testers from the 2 waves who want a second crack at it, second chance, as well as new alpha testers that sign up now. So again, go sign up now. That's only gonna, after that finishes, there's only gonna be potentially 3 months or so till the global launch. So there may or may not be time for more testing. So I know that some of you are disappointed about not actually seeing the game, but it looks like that the consolation is this is gonna be a great experience. And Simon goes on to talk about here that the key is that you want to be able to learn the core loop of the game. He's a gamer, right? He knows what he had to do to be successful in games, and he's building a game that he's telling you how to be successful at it, so we should listen. So you need to learn the core loop of the game. And you can teach the core loop of the game without the full variety of the game. You can shrink the core loop, the logic and basics of the core loop down so that it's a smaller environment, and it's better for testing because you have fewer numbers of variables, and so you can derive more solid decision making from your data, and you can figure out what is working and what is not. So I like this. I think it's a good thing. I know there's some folks out there that are probably going to disagree, but we have to remember that this is alpha testing. This isn't the launch of a paid game. This is alpha testing, and that they are trying to learn as much as they can about their game and the player's relationship to it. It's kind of like getting to know someone. Like, you may not know them at first, but you spend 10 years with them and you can finish their sentences. So they just need this information. They need this experience to get to know how players interact with their game, how their game works in this way or that way, because they have how they want it to work, but does it come across? Is it hitting the way we are trying to build it to do it? So he talks about the benefits of what you're getting from being involved in this alpha, these 3 alpha waves, alpha A, alpha B, alpha AB, C. So here's the benefits you get when you start the game at actual launch. you're going to get a bundle of goodies. You're going to get that. That's cool. Nothing that's going to set you miles ahead or anything like that, of course. But here's the thing I want to point out to you. Your OG has played a lot of games. Every time you start a new game, there's lots to learn, and it can be extremely overwhelming. So Fateless, by like shrinking the alpha down to this tower, it makes sure you don't bite off more than just a mouthful. Like, you don't choke to death on all this that you have to do. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't exactly want a second job, a second unpaid volunteer job. But so they want to make sure you don't bite off more than you can chew. They want to make sure that what they're providing you doesn't force too much from you. They're trying to find that balance as well. And then they also don't want you to starve either. They don't want to not give you enough and have people sort of exhaust all their resources so fast that they're like, okay, well, I'll leave the game because I got to wait for it to rejuvenate. So they're trying to strike this balance. And we just got to be mindful of that, and we can't assume much when we get into a game, right? The rules of a game are in the developer's hands. Up can be down, down can be up. So when you get involved in an alpha, you start on day one, you don't know how the world works at all when you get in the game. You quickly figure it out and you learn, and that's what makes the brain so incredible. But you develop this clearer vision of what strategy you want to employ. So being in the tower is absolutely going to set you up for success when you start on day one of the launch, even if the tower you do in alpha you never see again in the game. Because the point is, you're learning how the developers build this world, how the world works. They're learning about you. And all of that goes into figuring out your strategy for progressing your account. So that's the benefit. I mean, like I said, they're going to be giving you goodies that for helping them test and participating. It's not going to be anything that like sets you to the moon. But the knowledge base of the game, I think, is what dictates your account progression. So it's kind of like, I look at the alpha testing as like going back to school to learn all that we need to know for the game. And this is the hours that I'm putting in to try to be, a top player in the game. And many of us are willing to do that, right? Because we get serious returns from playing this game. What are you talking about, OG? Well, we get emotional, cognitive payoffs. We get acknowledgement and celebration by others in this community. And maybe we don't get emotional fulfillment from every other aspect of our life. So, hey, if you're getting it from gaming, your OG thinks that's all good. So let's just make the gaming experience support that, right? Be the best at supporting that. All right, so here he also talks about I think we'll let it run for a second. He also talks about having like multiple copies of a champion, awakening and ascensions, six-star ascensions and awakenings. We got to define these different terms exactly. There's basically, if you get that blue gem, you can go up through the 6 stars there. That would get you fully ascended, I believe, and that's your initial divinity bump. And then above that, that's your progression, your promotion. And then you also have awakening, which I believe is done if you have multiple copies of a champion, potentially as many as up to 4, kind of like in Raid Shadow Legends, where you can have a +4. So these are still very speculative, but we will get you it as soon as we can so that you're prepared for that alpha testing phase, because these will be in play, I believe, and there'll be rewards that you can get from tower levels, and then you'll be able to ascend and awaken and promote your characters. Okay. He talks about, let's see if we can jump ahead a little bit. Yeah, so he talked about the different ways. This is the awakening. I'm sorry. So this is the multiple copies, the awakening or ascension. It seems, or it might be ascension stars here. But he went through quite a bit. Some of it he doesn't clarify what everything is exactly. We're making guesses about different ways in which you can enhance your character. But at the end of the day, they're gonna have tutorials built into the game. You're gonna be taught what this is, just like Raid Shadow Legends has Arbiter that teaches you everything. They're gonna have ways to teach you. So I'm not overly concerned with you knowing or not knowing at this point. It's gonna be built into the progression of the game. So this is your abilities. We learn about scrolls, not books. So if you go from raid to Godforge, you go from books to scrolls. So illiteracy still works. My debuff idea I threw out there, or control idea I threw out there, where illiteracy would remove all your books or your scrolls from your champion for that fight. So that could be an interesting idea. But you do need scrolls, and you need to scroll out. That's how you get it fully scrolled up. But here's the cool thing about scrolls, a little bit better than maybe books in raid, is that scrolls top out, it looks like, at level 4. So I think Fateless just fired raid's biggest librarians and bookworms with this. So if you have champions in raid that you're like, whoa, this is like 13 books to max out this champion, and I don't know if it even makes a difference. We've got some big changes. Fateless is learning from Polarium here and saying, no, we're going to cap it at 4 scrolls per skill to max it out, it looks like. And that's cool. That's a pretty neat thing. We are going to just jump back to it for just a second, because I think we're still lacking the U from Ultimate, it looks like, and the B maybe from Basic on the skills. But look, you can upgrade each of them to level 4, not 7, 8, 240. I don't know. I mean, it feels like it sometimes. Because who knows? Books are so hard to come by in raid. So this is great. There's a cap that's more reasonable on the amount of scrolls you are going to need to max out your champion's skills. The other thing that I thought was really cool is that it looks like, and I'm only going to go back because I think he zooms back out a little bit better. I'm going to go back just for a second, or maybe it was forward. So I might have missed it, but it looks like you can scroll left and right in your champion area to be able to kind of like swipe left and right through your champion list. I don't know for sure, but that's kind of the way it looks. This screen, so I think that's kind of a cool feature. You can just anything that helps you more quickly and more easily do account work is better, because while it's great to have account work to do to break up the different areas of the game, you don't want to spend a ton of hours of crazy manual work just like keeping your account from being out of control. I think Raid did do a good thing in the search and filter features. Like, Raid changed this and added this, but having the ability to search by buff or debuff it helps tremendously, I think, in team building as your account grows larger and you might not like remember every character's stats exactly, or skills exactly. So I think that is something that would be cool to see. I'm not sure if it's in or not, but and even like the other thing that I thought Raid doesn't do as well is the saving of preset teams. I know that there is like a preset manager, and you go in and you set your teams, and you decide what skills to use, don't use, and blah blah blah. But the thing I think that's really missing about that is there's no like name over the team of like what team this is for. So like, I know I put that team together, and that's a Drex-based, Drexstar-based, spider team, and for level 15 and above. Like, I know, but I can't label it. So when I'm testing 2 or 3 different team builds, it takes 2 or 3 different, pre-slot spaces, and then I have to remember to go back and clear those out because I won't remember that that's not even an active team build I decided to go with. So that's just something I think could be done better in terms of like testing teams and then saving teams, so that when you do go into the content, whatever dungeon, you're prompted with that save team for that content area. That would be super cool. Okay, so we're paused here at Gilgamesh. Simon mentions that the tower is going to drop gear as part of the rewards. You will need to farm tower levels to obviously get the best pieces of gear for your builds. Different levels in the tower will drop different gear sets, so you will have to know which level drops. This is similar in Raid's campaign. Each campaign area drops a different gear type. So this is the same. You will need to go to level 14 to get this kind of gear set, and level 7 to get this kind of gear set. Of course, the higher the level, the better the quality of the gear drop. That just makes sense. Simon, as you can see, this blue highlight here is mentioning the importance of weapons. So you have 6 gear spots to the right there, and then you have 1 weapon spot. And he calls out how important weapons are going to be. They are also possible drops in the tower. So those are a massive, in military terms, a massive force multiplier. That's going to be a big help to your account. So people are going to be looking for the best weapons. We don't know that much about the 22 different gear sets that we think there are, but we'll do a whole series on gear once that data is available. You can see here under the gear sets, it says attune all and remove all. I believe this is the attunement feature they spoke about for gear that imprints a specific hero's like passive on the equipment. I believe, I could be wrong. And I believe it's only for the weapons that you attune. I don't know, but it says attune all, so it might just like spread it through to all your gear, but I'm not exactly sure. Now this is a more end game feature where when you attune, you want to make sure that you're attuning gear that you're not still progressing or that you're going to swap out, because it's a bit more of a permanent thing. To remove will cost a premium currency. We don't know exactly what it will cost, but it will be a premium currency to remove attuned gear. So this is not something you may hit in the first, maybe we won't even hit it in the alpha. I don't know, but I'm sure I'm sure there will be players that will, but the removal of attuned gear is something you're going to want to pay attention to when you get late mid game and early end game. I'm sure that RagewoodGaming.com, our friends over at Ragewood, will have detailed information on this Alpha Tower. I don't know, I've been playing with some names. I kind of like the Alpha and Omega Tower. It's like the beginning and the end. It's the end-all, be-all. Anyways, Fateless, feel free to use whatever you like. So subscribe to this channel if you like what you're hearing. Set your notifications so you don't miss any of these fast-flying updates as we roll out the launch pad and we get ready for this thing to take us on a trip to the stars. There's a lot to cover in this game, so be sure to check out all of my videos and like rewatch specific ones if you just to keep you sharp on the basics while you're progressing through some of the more advanced content that, obviously the greatest gaming minds at Fateless can throw at us. So that's cool. Simon goes on to talk about choices and giving you choices as to like go this way, go that way, which is great because I remember back in the day, when I used to play games like Atari Adventure, it was you adventured. There was no choice. You just follow the path. There's no choices. But in today's games, you have to have choice. You have to have variety and the beauty of free will, right? So Fateless is being true to its brand here. Forge your own fate, right? That's what they say. So by giving you choices and letting there be multiple roads you can go down. Now, none of these roads are better or worse. They're just unique gaming experiences. So this is cool because like we all love collecting characters, we all like collecting experiences too. And it builds longevity into the gameplay because every part of the game is just a different game experience you can collect over time. Now, maybe you don't like one game experience at first, but maybe you like it later in the game because you have a better handle on it, you have better champions, you never know. And so being okay with coming in and out of different game experiences at different times and not having to feel like you have to do all of it all the time or that you should only do what you like, it's going to be interesting. I also think that this brings up sort of the old school competition versus new school, I would say, cooperation. So old school competition, kind of think of like a single race, like tortoise and the hare. There's a winner and a loser. And that's kind of where I grew up, like there were no participation medals when I grew up. You either won or you felt so bad you did better until you won, my poor emotional state. But I think what is a different way to approach this is, what if we give an experience where everyone wins to a degree? This is moving from duality of black and white to plurality, increasing options. And it can be done with dynamic decision points like Simon is talking about here, where you get to almost choose your own adventure flavor in the game design. Now, while some of you guys might see this like smaller mini game as not the game, and I get that, I get it, but it is just another game experience that we are getting to collect. And then when we get into the real game, it will be new and a new game experience and not a rerun of what we've already done. So really, Fateless is giving us more by doing this rather than, and I've seen this in comments in Discord and YouTube many times, is the complaint that gaming companies sort of reuse and recycle, images, like event ideas and things. They just sort of like rehash them with a new skin on them, if you will, and charge you the same amount. So it's clear, you can see the value isn't the same, but the price is always the same. And so I think that puts a bad taste in gamers' mouth. And I think that they are doing a good job of building their game in a way that it just avoids it altogether. So anyways, that's my rant. So if you noticed, and I did, if you noticed a little sparkle in Simon's eyes in this video, I heard, this is coming to us from unconfirmed sources, but I have heard that Simon actually got a whole day off, 24 full hours off, away from work. This was unconfirmed, but the sources say he was released from Fateless's basement dungeon, where his desk is. Yeah, that's the Severus is barking, wants to intervene. But he was released from his Fateless basement dungeon, where his desk had been moved to because his light is on so late at night, keeps keeping up the neighbors. And apparently he got to spend a nice leisurely day with Lady H. So well deserved, my friend. We very well deserved. But as divine as such a day must have been, I can only imagine that he was just secretly gnawing to get back at it and get back to work. So, awesome. We're excited by these developments. We're going to jump forward a little bit. So here is another screen that's very interesting. The Awakening screen for Beowulf. I don't know that we've seen this before. It looks like and feels like, and I'm guessing is similar to sort of raids, pulling souls, I guess, so that you can awaken your champion. So as we go forward with this, you'll see what's behind his head, but it would appear here that you can pull souls for your champions and awaken them to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels. So that's cool. And one other piece that was behind him there that's really hard to see is over his left shoulder is like a amber orb with the Asgard symbol inside of it, the crossing arrows. So that looks like maybe a raid has them in when you pull gear, and you can request like gauntlets or boots or a higher rank or rarity. So it might be a gem like that helps you pull the awakened spirits better, or if you want to pull a specific champion's soul and maybe the only variability is 1 through 6, how many stars awakening do you get, that's cool. Then you're getting the champion you need to awaken. You've worked for it. Maybe the orange orb is the currency that you collect in order to be able to come in here and pull an awakened soul for this specific champion. That's cool, because then you have visibility, what you're working towards, what you're pulling, when you get to it. And then it's not like in raid where you can pull very expensive shards and very expensive souls and soul stones and not get anything, just nothing, strike out completely and not get anything you can use at all, especially when you're closer to endgame. But that is also some speculation behind his head, and we will continue to move forward. So yes, so we're going to be looking at the power of multiple champions. In the tower, this is how this is going to work, is you will get champions dropped to you as rewards for beating levels in the tower. Now, not automatically, it works like this. You get to level 15. It's a mini boss or a boss per se, and you defeat that boss. But here's the really cool thing I thought that he mentioned before that is you go into the fight being able to see the possible rewards that can be RNG drop rate to you, and some of those rewards is a champion pool, a group of champions that you will pull from if you are, get the drop rate to get a champion. Now maybe you don't always get a champion, maybe only so much of the time you pull a champion, and then so much of that time it pulls this champion out of the pool or that champion out of the pool. So it is RNG times RNG, but here's what they did that's different from Raid. Raid, it was RNG. Okay, you got to pull the champion, and then, or I'm sorry, let me restate that. So it was RNG to farm and pull this, and then RNG again to hopefully get or RNG to get the shards to pull, and then RNG again to get the champion you want out of a large pool of champions. So what that is, I'm sorry, I got all twisted up there. But what that is imagine RNG but in capital letters times RNG in capital letters. That's Raid. What these guys have done here, Fateless has done, is it's lowercase RNG times lowercase RNG. It's a smaller pool, so you're more likely to get something you want and not get something you don't want. Raid's model, you're more likely to get something you don't want than something you do want. On average, you can't help it. And so you're more likely to have an experience you don't want than an experience you do want. Who wants to build a game that way? This is Fateless just redefining, honestly, and rethinking many of the common game pain points. I almost went on a deep dive there. You guys got to pull me out here. So I like this idea of, so you're going to want to pull more than one champion for the champions that are really strong for your team, just like in Raid. You're going to want a +1, +2, +3, +4, it looks like. But what I like about the difference here in the tower model is it's energy to farm champs versus shards to pull them. So in the alpha and omega tower, I'm calling it, you will progress up or down the tower, and you will get champions as you drop it. So when you find level 15 is a champion dropping level, you go farm that level until you can get the champions that you want in the quantities that you want. So that's cool. There's a lot more deliberate ability to just go do focused quests to get the thing you want. So that's cool. I like that a lot. Where shards to pull champions as your main way, yes, it's cool. The feeling of pulling a shard is awesome and fun and all that. But I have had more experiences where I have pulled disappointing epics from a sacred shard than, and honestly, this, I don't know if this is a thing or not, but it's a thing in my mind. I have pulled the best, I swear to God, I pulled the best champions in my Raid account from ancient shards. I don't know if that's a known thing or what, but I have a free-to-play. I didn't do the free-to-play challenge with Hades. I just did a free-to-play on my own to kind of get back to the basics and get ready for Godforge, like a training session. But in my free-to-play, my second ancient shard, I pulled a Lego, and I pulled, oh man, who did I pull now? I pulled, where is he? I pulled Michinaki. I pulled Michinaki on my second ancient shard on a free-to-play at level 12. Do you know how impactful that felt? Do you know how much I felt wow, I might actually be able to do something with this account? You know what I mean? And I could do Hydra. So anyways, I'm way off tangent here, but yeah, I like this idea of energy to farm champs versus shards to pull them, because I feel like you can set out on a goal, put in the work for it, get the payoff, and then move to the next piece. And then you can control how many of those goals you want to set and how much work you're willing to do, and not have the game dictate that for you. All right. Let's move here forward. He touches on Ran. We have not seen Ran's stats here before. So she has 97 speed. That's above average. Another Asgardian who's lightning quick. Asgard. You know you're in. You know you want to be on the Asgard faction team. Uh, just like your OG. But she is a little low in HP. Obviously, attack, defense a little low. Her initiative's high. She looks like a speed champ with good initiative. Her accuracy is slightly above average. Her resistance is kind of low. But she's an invoker, so she's trying to land things, go fast, get out in front. So I think that it's seeming to me that the Asgardian faction is going to produce some of the best arena champions. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way off, and maybe we don't know enough champions yet. But from what we've seen, that's what we're seeing. But man, how cool does Rand look too? She's like, this is the first one I've seen. I know it's ice, but it also has a very much like ocean and water theme as well. But really, really cool look to this character. I like Rand quite a bit. So we haven't seen her stats before, and we're going to talk a little bit more about masteries. So Simon talks here and says masteries will not be included in the alpha testing phases. It will be grayed out. That bottom ribbon will be grayed out. You will not be able to use masteries. Womp womp. But, and this, so it'll be a global launch feature, but there's some really cool things that we're learning and learned about masteries here. So we're going to pause right here, and we're going to show you what Simon's showing us. Masteries are hidden challenges in the game, and when you know, some of it could be like the toughest enemies, or some of them could be in broad daylight, like you wouldn't think, oh, this is too easy, there's not going to be a mastery to this, or you never know, or you have to do it the right way to get a mastery. Really cool dynamic. But maybe you beat the hardest content, you get this mastery, and it is a game-changing mastery for your hero. It offers maybe like the full effect of Raid's tree, or something like that. Maybe you don't have to do a tree, maybe you just get these different masteries and then determine which champions you want to apply them to. It's very unclear. It's not even going to be in the alpha testing, so I'm sure it's a little ways out, but let me know what you think about masteries in this sort of rework or rethought of masteries. I think it's cool. I think that they rethought it in a way that sort of made almost Easter eggs out of them. Obviously prioritizes beating toughest content, which we're going to talk about toughest content later, gives you, and I quote unquote, game-changing benefits. I don't think you're going to get, and that's behind his head, and I can see through it because I'm AI robot and I can see through Simon, but it says game-changing masteries for your heroes. That doesn't seem like a bluff. So I'm going to believe him. I think this is a great rethink as compared to Raid. So let's move on. So the toughest content piece, we'll get into that with the secret sauce for racing to the top of the Alpha and Omega Tower. I'm going to share that with you here in a little bit. But we will first jump ahead. I wanted to show you. There is... if you don't watch like 10 seconds, if you don't watch more than 10 seconds of this video, you need to watch this segment with Pandora and listen for the sound of Pandora's box opening. I'm not going to say anymore. I'm not going to ruin it for you. That's cool. That is some seriously cool sound effects. I don't know what exactly it was, if it was a screaming demon or if it was like me waking up in the morning, OG waking up in the morning. I'm not really sure. Check it out. You're gonna be like, wow. All right, so we're gonna jump ahead here. Oh yeah, so we're back at the start screen. He's talked about King Tut as well. He goes forward into the battle screen right here. He goes into the battle screen. So basically, in alpha testing, the tower there on the far left, that will be the way we get into that Alpha and Omega Tower, is right here. Dungeons, arena bosses, and campaign, these will all be grayed out. You won't be able to go into them or do anything in the alpha testing phases of A and B or C or whatever, A, B, C, or whatever you want to call the retesting one. And then when it goes global launch, the Alpha and Omega testing tower will be swapped out for the actual tower that will be in the game. Dungeons, arenas, bosses, campaigns will all be accessible. So that is cool. We are learning about that. And then here's the secret sauce, okay? So here's what I think is the secret sauce for beating this tower. And you heard it here first, and it's an early prediction, so it's subject to change, as Simon said about the dates for the testing coming out. But here's what I think is the secret sauce for progressing through the tower. Your OG beat Sonic 1 on Sega Genesis back in the day. For those of you that don't know, back in the day was a Wednesday. What I'm taking from Sonic 1 and applying to how to beat the tower is this. Progressing fuels progressing. That's what I took from Simon's video. Progression fuels progression. As you go up or down the tower, you get more things you need to go up or down the tower more. So this ties into something I already spoke about in one of my first videos, Boyd's OODA loop, or that momentum building tempo that the Marine Corps uses to basically become invincible and unbeatable in battle. This is the strategy. I'm calling it the Sonic the Hedgehog booster ring strategy. And if you remember, in Sonic the Hedgehog, there were these booster rings, like gates, and if you ran through them, you sped up. And if you were really high end, I don't want to, point any fingers here, but if you were really high end, you would link these speed boosters and you would hit all of them in a level, and it would give you the fastest run time for the level. I think that sort of thinking is going to be needed in the tower. Now, with that being said, there is a natural rhythm in the tower that I'm also getting from what Simon says. So if you think of the Sonic the Hedgehog booster ring strategy as like your overall strategy, your day-to-day operational or tactical focus is this. It's a natural rhythm, and it's a lot like a dance step, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're constantly pushing up, moving back to farm, getting stronger, pushing up, moving back to farming, getting a little stronger, pushing back up, and you repeat until you get to the top. You iterate and you improve. Iterate and improve, iterate and improve. I don't think you'll ever hear me say that again. But iterate and improve to maintain momentum. You keep your OODA loop spinning and you don't lose momentum. You don't get stuck, stopped, quit. That's the enemy here. If you stay at it, you find new and different ways, even if your first efforts fail. What do we say? What do we say when we fail, Bruce? Get back out? No, you iterate and improve, Bruce. Come on, Batman. How could you optimize this learning curve? How could you optimize this growth curve, right? Okay, that's what we're going to want to know. Well, what if you reach certain levels in the tower and suddenly your strategies no longer work? What if, you got Hell Hades, you got, Chosen, you got some of these best, content creators and gamers, out there that are thinking these things up. You don't think that they're going to think, hey, what if we make it so that strategy works, and then that strategy becomes self-destructive and beats your team after a certain level? We're just giving these guys a chance to come up and cook some awesome and wild challenges. So you're gonna be going forward, then coming back, and going forward and coming back. So that's the flow and the rhythm that you're gonna want to have day to day. But overall, thinking of it from a strategic and high level standpoint, you want to think of it like Sonic the Hedgehog. This tower is a level, and you have speed booster gates at different points in the tower that you need to hit to maintain and keep your momentum so that you right up or right down the tower and to the top of the leaderboards. So, all right. So I think that this is the strategy that's going to work. So the big question is, what and where are these rings, booster ring gates? What are they? Where are they? How do I keep from missing any of them, right? I want to maximize my tempo and my momentum. All right, so your OG is, of course, going to be dropping videos like I've done a video every day so far, and that pace, I think I'm going to keep that pace up. So you're going to be getting a video nearly daily from EuroG, helping you with this, guiding you. I'm not going to leave you to your own. I'm not, we don't leave battle buddies behind in the Marines. It's just not what we do. So I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be there to give you the information I get, and to work with the community to figure out how to do this. So there's that. Okay, we're going to help you. But and you want to subscribe and like and do all the things that helps the channel continue to contribute to the community, because that's what's important. The community as a whole learns and grows together, and the game is the mechanism that drives that. So that's that. But here is your big, hairy OG prediction for beating the Alpha and Omega Doom Tower. I already called it a Doom Tower. Probably going to do that more than once. The Alpha and Omega Test Tower doesn't have the same ring. Alpha and Omega Tower that we will be seeing in July. Here's what I think beating boss content is: the speed gates. Simon mentions it here. He says, beating the hard stages is going to give you obviously great stuff, but I think being able to beat the boss content or the hardest pieces is the speed booster. Oh gee, you crazy, you got it backwards. That's the opposite. That's what stops me. I know, but because it's designed to be the roadblock, when you turn it into a stepping stone, you get massive momentum gain and tempo gain. So the key is to focusing not on all the levels that, for the most part, you can pretty much but you can set a good team and push through. You are worried about what are those key checkpoints that are going to hold you up, that are going to slow your momentum down and slow your tempo, and getting yourself squared away on those. And of course, we're going to provide you guides and insight to how to do that, and the community is going to do that as well. But that is going to be the key difference maker that helps you beat the whole tower. And what's really cool, Simon leaks here, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, the end game boss for this tower, if you are now, he says they don't expect everyone to beat this tower. In fact, they don't expect probably most people to beat this tower. But if you do beat the tower, all the levels in the tower, it unlocks a end game boss where you can do unlimited damage. So that we're gonna get into it a little bit more, but so that's all we know about. But we all know that we're gonna be measuring this success in the tower, and how long does it take, because there's definitely going to be some folks, I'm sure, who are going to get to the top of the tower and they're only going to think okay, it's not whether I get there or not, it's how fast I get there. I know there are those players too. So ladies and gentlemen, start your engines, because I think I can feel the excitement building. And man, we haven't even pulled the race car out of the garage yet. We're not even on the track yet. That's July. So we'll be looking to beat that content, and that stops you, that stops us. But we're going to want to string these wins together. We're going to want to build and maintain momentum and get to a place where our account doesn't feel like we're shoestringing it and putting 3-star gear on and praying and crossing our fingers that the RNG doesn't, smack us back into the to the gear lobby and make us feel shame. So that is what your OG's big hairy prediction is all about. You will be rewarded, Simon talks about, for participating in alpha testing. Now, this is just my perspective. Feel free to tell me I'm a loony. Outside of the reward for me is getting to playtest this game. The game looks amazing. I get a massive amount of advantage and knowledge and skill in just every interaction with the game. That is my reward. Hell, I'll give you a 10 shard pull head start on me, because, hey, your OG, he knows gold does not make the king. It's endurance that is key. And so, you can how do we get, they're going to get an advantage, they're going to get starting goodies. No, your progression in the account and in the game is a matter of your knowledge base, what you know, your skills. So we're getting skills and knowledge. It's more valuable than anything. But of course, Fateless is not silly. They're going to give you some other stuff as well, for thanking you for for being a part of their testing. So there's going to be some cosmetic gifts. He talks about a really cool like banner or skin or something that you will never be able to get again, kind of like an early bird special medal. That's what Simon said. So there'll be a bunch of goodies that are dropped to you when you start your new account. But you have to play enough days in the alpha testing to get it, which I think is really cool. Keeps fight spam accounting for like your testing, because he mentions that not everybody that signs up will probably do it. So that's a fair call out. But it won't give you any sort of rewards that's going to set you light years ahead of everyone else in the game. You shouldn't want that. We don't want that. No one wants that. You want to compete and earn and grow your account just like everyone else and feel proud of it. So cheaters don't feel that. They don't get to feel that emotional payoff. So don't cheat yourself of that. All right. So he talks about the first wave of testing being friends and family. I would love to see a leaderboard for that. I think that'd be real cool. We also talks about like rewards coming and from the tower and like what rewards. I think the idea of like polling the community for what reward they want out of a selection of rewards is a cool idea. I think that can work really well. I thought Raid actually did pretty well with that. I like things that balance competition and cooperation in the game and in the community. I'll be doing a deep dive on that in the future. But the start dates to know: early July is Alpha A, late July Alpha B, August, September Alpha 2.1 or ABC, whatever you want to call it. So then Simon gets pretty excited. He talks about the final boss and being able to do ultimate damage, like just like unlimited damage, and that is super cool. So anyways, we'll get into that in a second here. But so I'm already Oscar Mike, right? Like I'm already on the move for this game, getting ready, getting knowledgeable, getting prepped for this mission. If you want to come with me, my friend, because we're gonna run. Let's get to the chopper. We're gonna do this. So if you're on board and you want to be a part of a team that's going to be going for it, sign up for the alpha testing and follow my videos as we go through that. Heck, maybe you join my clan and my pantheon if you feel Asgard is the way to go. I don't know. The pantheon doesn't necessarily connect to Asgard per se, but if you're already thinking about forming pantheons and clans, I'm going to be putting out a massive deep dive video tomorrow on pantheon building, or there's two pieces to it: pantheon building and pantheon management. Clan building and clan management, one is more marketing focused, one is more like project management focused. So I'm going to be doing deep dives on both of those and how to become a pantheon god, so that if you're an end game, or if you're a high level player that wants to start your own pantheon and attract the best players, how do you do that? How do you attract the very best players in the game so you become the very best pantheon in the game? Because I'm pretty sure that helps you in your progression, right? So that's coming out tomorrow. We'll get into that. But back to what we were talking about, alpha testing. It's always important to remember, what is the purpose of alpha testing? Why are we doing this, right? Like, you can't lose sight of that. It's about providing the right data and feedback to the Fateless team so that they can make final decisions and push to complete the full game and get to launch. While they have a responsibility to us, and they do, to entertain us, I'm not like worried that they're not gonna. I've seen the announced trailer. But like with what they're bringing out in the summer and the fall and this alpha testing phase, like they do have a responsibility to entertain us in this. But as a gaming community, we also have a responsibility to interact with the game in a way that helps it become the best version of itself. So I would encourage all gamers in this space during this alpha testing phase to remember that if we find a problem, just like when we're out, combat engineers are out sweeping for IEDs in Afghanistan, just like that, we find a problem, we don't just point at it and yell as loudly as we can. We don't just find it and move past it and say, I'm sure that'll be okay. We confront the situation. We look for solutions that can be engineered with what we know and what we have. We offer those solutions, and then we iterate and we improve. We do what? We iterate and we improve our situation at all times. This is just the Marine Corps ethos. We never had the fanciest gear or the nicest stuff. The Marine Corps had like 8% of the DoD's budget, and all the other branches have like 20 to 30% because the Marine Corps is not its own branch. It falls under the Department of the Navy. So we always did more with less. That was just our ethos. So yeah, you don't just point at it and yell at it. You don't just move past it and forget about it. You confront the situation. You look for solutions. You do what you can. You iterate and you improve. And that progressive improvement is what it's all about in your account progression as well. So Fateless is going to be learning about all of our collective gaming personalities when we interact with their game. And they're going to see how does their, the data sets are going to provide them with this statistically relevant information, enough users, so they can understand what is working well and what is less refined. So we want to keep that in the back of our minds as we go into this. That, it can be a lot of fun, and it's probably going to be, and it's going to be challenging, but it's also a contribution to the community and a contribution to the game, even if you're just being a committed tester and a player. So that's all I want my little soapbox rant on that to the community. This is a cool piece. Like I mentioned it, Simon got into unlimited end boss damage or unlimited damage for the end boss. And how funny is this, right? If anyone who watches Hell Hades, Raid Shadow Legends channel knows that when the bandana comes on, it is time for maximum damage. Oh, it's coming back, baby. And I think he provided maybe some upgrades for it. I think this thing is gonna smack like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, like old school smack. I think it's going to be fun. I think this is where the gloves come off and we can do some really fun things with chaining ultimates and doing some wild and crazy things. So this is really cool. But since the tower is like a very controlled space, which makes it a better test environment, right? Like there's specific levels, you can do them, you can redo them, but you can't go spiraling off into 75 different areas and do all these different things. That's true. But this provides a better test environment. It's small, has fewer variables that can be clouding the decision making and the data. So I like what they're doing. I think it's going to produce a better end game experience. So this will be the first time when we get into this alpha testing that we'll get to see, and when somebody gets to this ultimate boss, we'll get to see what the open-ended possibilities look like for the full game when we see the launch of Godforge go out. So if you want to ring the bell at the top or the bottom of this tower, we're not really sure how that's going to be, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, Optimized Gaming. You're going to want to turn on your notifications so you do not miss anything, because I'm putting out a lot of content, champion guides, updates, spotlights, giveaways, all of it we're going to be sharing. You're going to want to keep up to date on it so that you can maximize your and optimize your gaming experience. One final note before we get into the last piece of this. So Simon talks about having a leaderboard on Fateless GG or on HellHades.com, where in the alpha testing you will be able to see who's the leading player, gamer. I think would be cool is, multiple leaderboard categories, just like there's the fastest speed champs, but then some champs work better when they're slow, right? So like niche leaders is kind of cool to see. Some ideas would be like most consistent, the champion with, or the player's account with the fewest number of failed battles. That would be kind of cool. Like who goes for that, right? Like who isn't going to risk and lose a battle, to try to push and progress. So giving an award for like most consistent, they failed the fewest number of battles, could be a neat little additional leaderboard category. Most damage done overall, most damage blocked, so best defensive team builders, best offensive team builders, most healing, best support. I think those could be cool ways to like diversify the leaderboard so that it's not just there's one leaderboard and I'm like, I want to think I'm going to be number one. My mom said I was special, but we all know that maybe we aren't, so it's a little demotivating. And I think this happens with fusions all the time. Like you're like in Raid, you're like, am I gonna be able to do this fusion all the way through? I'm gonna be honest, this is totally a off the cuff thing, but I almost quit Raid over a fusion. I remember it clear as day. Oella, I came up like one fragment or something, one thing short of getting Oella, and I had very few champs in that faction in Raid, and I needed her for her healing or whatever it was, and I, oh my god, I didn't spend for maybe 4 to 6 months after that because I was so angry by that experience. But I came back to it and I got over it, and then I fused Blizzard or whatever, and I felt better about life. But that's why I think the second chance model is so powerful. Have it be where there is follow-on events, maybe like a month after the fusion or the event or the champion event, where you get like half the amount that the full event had as a chance to get those last pieces, that last part that you didn't get. Because sometimes some fusions fall at a time where you're trying to do something else with your account, and it is just not the right time for you to push on a fusion. So I love that second chance model. I think it makes every fusion a must do. So hopefully Fateless hears that. I think that's powerful. We keep going forward and we get to the one of my puppies here, Vocaladuck. Sounds like when I clear my throat in the morning. I think we have his stats. So we have him. He's not new. And he's not wildly impressive. I'm not going to say it. He's a rare in my favorite faction, but he's not I don't know. He might be niche. We'll see. Let's see if we can jump ahead a little bit. I wanted to get, King Tut. Oh, he leveled him up 2 levels from 4 to 6. So King Tut's been being used. See that much. Simon mentions being on the Discord server and interacting with the community all the time. So if you want to talk to him, you want to ask him questions, you want to give him feedback or ideas, suggestions, feel free, jump onto their Fateless Discord and do that. I can confirm I'm on the Discord. I have talked with him directly. I've shared ideas. He's responded. Other Fateless team members are there all the time. Other content creators are there all the time, contributing and responding. It's a great community, a great conversation. So if you want to be on the inside track, get on the Discord. And if you, like I said, if you think you have a good idea, contribute to the community, jump into the conversation. That's awesome. So Simon was, there's one last note that Simon says here. Simon says, and he says, and I'm going to quote it with quotations. He says, timelines are subject to change. If I had to guess, behind the scenes, the Fateless few, right? The team behind the scenes, they probably have a permanent cue card that makes him read that now at the end of every video. Simon, you must read. Timelines are subject to change. Say it every time. It's funny. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up. That was our deep dive, our reaction and response into Simon's latest video here, talking about this alpha. You're not going to want to miss it. Look forward to our follow-on videos here. And thanks again. Take care of yourself and play smarter.